Hi, it's Paula from Paula Quilting. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today another Christmas project. Very quick one, very versatile and something you can adopt to your own needs. And it's going to be a Christmas table runner. Self-binding one, so very easy. Okay, so I went through my scrap box and I've picked up all of the Christmassy stuff or something I think can be Christmassy. Like, you know, those stars, they are not necessarily Christmas only, but they go with other fabrics I found, so I will use them as well. I also measured the space I want to cover with my table runner, and it has to be 15 by 27. Now I'm going to be using a tumbler to do my table runner, and obviously you can make it a rectangle, but I don't want to. I want to have a little bit of play there, so I will be moving those tumblers up and down, but I cannot go beyond obviously the measurement I've got, so I kind of have to keep an eye on it. What I need to do first is cut out my pieces, so I was thinking out of that I can make some sort of crumb block type and kind of just make it big enough so I can cut one of the tumblers out of it. And I think it's not a bad idea. So crumb blocks, I've got video about it, how to do it, so I can link it in the description below. So let me put this one away for now. All of those small bits and pieces I will just incorporate in the crumb blocks. Some of them are actually very Christmassy, luckily. A lot of those fabrics came from the scrap store. There's a scrap store here in Southampton which got leftovers from other crafters with the fabrics. But I also have got quite a lot of fabric in big pieces, again came from the scrap store. Yes, this is big enough for me to cut at least 2 or 3 of the tumblers. And I'm not necessarily going with the kind of you know, grain or width of the fabric. It can be anywhere I want, and I could probably try to cut at least 4 layers at the time. I like this fabric as well. How I made my tumbler is all captured in my previous tutorial about the big tumblers scrappy quilt. So again, I will link it in the description below so you can check that out and follow the process. Now, because I'm going to be cutting like this, and this is why I'm cutting this bigger pieces first, because I will have some cutouts from that fabric and I can again use it to my crumb block to incorporate in that project. So that's why I'm cutting from the full fabric first. So I've got my first 4 tumblers ready. Now to more or less find out how many I need, so my ruler is 24 inches, so they should kind of stick out a little bit, so it's quite easy for me to kind of more or less put them on and see how many of them I will need to cover my ruler. So that's 4, I think 5. If I have 5, that will be perfect length for me. So I want to make 2 of them, which means I need 6 more big tumblers. Now I've got 4 of them here, and now I've got a little bit more of scraps from that squaring up. So I think I will get on and make those ones before I kind of cut into the bigger pieces again, because I may have enough here to make those extra blocks. Let me do those crumb blocks and cut them to the size, and I will show you the next step. I finished my crumb blocks, so all together I've got 10 blocks. Well, I actually got 1 extra here just in case. Well, I didn't make it just in case. I was just making those crumb blocks and I got 1 extra, but I might still use it if I think that, well, you know, it's too short, so I can maybe add half of it to each of them. So we see. So I've got those 4 which are just cut fabric, so I'm going to, you know, take 1 each for each of the table runners. And then I've got those crumb blocks which are mix from more or less fabric pieces, so I'll just again divide it into 2 piles, 4 and 5 inch. This one is literally from all the cutouts when I was squaring or cutting to the shape, so it's quite quite crumbly, but I like it as well. So I've got now 2 piles. And when I was making the tumbler quilt, obviously it was important to sew it so that you have that sticking out, 1/4 inch length, so when you sew them there was a straight line here. Here no issue, because I do not want them to be in the straight line. So the surface I've got needs to be maximum 15 inches. So if I just take my measuring tape, my tumblers will be sticking out from both sides, and I just need to make sure they don't stick more than 15. They can be less, just not more than 15. So more or less where I am at the moment should be fine. And also they don't have to be in the same line here. They can be a little bit, more or less. So I will put the full pieces on the both sides, and I will leave the crumbs in the middle. So how far you want to go with those kind of rugged edges, it's up to you. This is more or less how I will go. There's no measurement here required. I know I'm within the surface I want to cover, and I will just literally sew them, with the straight stitch. Again, it doesn't have to be even 1/4, we're not matching anything, so it's very easy, beginners friendly project. So let me crack on with the sewing. Both of those tumblers, and then I will be using some scrap batting or scrap fleece blankets I've got from my other projects to make enough surface again to quilt it. If you don't have scraps, grab a full piece, but you may have a blanket you not necessarily like anymore, fleece blanket, so that will be good opportunity to use it. Or if you have actual batting, that will work as well. I've set my second table runner pieces on top of the first one, and I'm going to be chain piecing those 2 table runners at the same time. And now I'm not taking anything from the machine. I'll just cut off the first 2 stitched blocks, and I will take the third piece and carry on. So that will save a lot of time, and it kind of keeps the table runner growing without any cutting and stoppages in between. So let's just carry on with that. So here is my tumbler table runner. Now the tip here is open your seams when you're ironing individual blocks, because if you put it to the side, one of those will stick out. So just put them open. I press them open, and normally I don't care which way the seams are going, I can work around it, but here definitely, just so you can see better here, just so those edges are nice and even, just press them open. Now I think my tumblers or table runners are a little bit too long, so let me just measure, because like I said, I've got specific size in mind it has to fit. So let's have a look. 26 inches, that's what I need. So I need to trim them a little bit on the sides, so let me do it straight away. And because I'm not going for a specific shape, I can make it here like a small tumbler at the edge as well. So one here, yeah, the same I will cut on this side, so I'll just make a smaller tumbler here. It cannot be bigger than 26. It can be smaller, just not bigger. So let me check now where we are with it. So from this edge to this edge is 26. Perfect. So we're good with that one. So now I need to get some batting pieces and some backing pieces. So because it's a table runner, obviously this is the side I'm going to be showing off. You can decide to make it double-sided, that's up to you. We've got some nice bigger pieces of the Christmassy or the season you're making it with fabric. By all means use that. I'm just going with one-sided, so on the back I will again use some maybe cut-offs I've got from other projects of the backing. It may not be anything interesting, but I can use it here. Okay, so it's time to put all of our pieces together. So what I've got is a piece of batting. I'm using a fleece because that's what I normally use as a batting, but you use whatever you have. And I did kind of patch it up from the leftover, so you can see I've stitched it together. I've got a tutorial how to do it, and I will link it in the description below. Then we need a piece of backing fabric, and that will be my green one. Now this green one, whichever I put is fine, but if you have a you know, a proper right side and left side, then you want to have it right side up. And then the last piece is our top, and you want to have it right side to the inside of the project. Okay, so left side up. So just set it off, and we will be pinning it all around. So it's small project, so you can just use normal pins. Just make sure you pin it you know, where the edges are. And I normally pin it a little bit away from the edge, so I don't have to remove the pins as I stitch. So I will come here, that pin will not disturb me. So just pin all around. And it's also good to put one or few pins, you know, every now and then in the middle of the body of the work as well, so it doesn't shift for you. And I will talk a little bit about the stitching. So obviously you will need to pivot where the kind of those ups and downs are. So for example, you can use those beads you have ironed on as a guidance. So if I'm coming here, I need to get up to this point where that fabric is folded before I change my direction. Then I go here all along the other side. I need to stop where that fabric again would have started. Then I will go down. And here obviously you don't have a gauge how far down. It will be the length of the or the distance you will be using for the seam allowance. Then you go again, you stop here, you come across, you go into the other side, and then again you can use that iron on piece to tell you where to stop and go up. So where you can use those folded fabric kind of a distance, where you cannot, you kind of have to do it yourself with the distance you will be using for the seam allowance. But just take it slowly. It's not a big project, so you don't have to rush with that one. Now you do not want to stitch all around, because we need to leave the opening to put the project back to the right side. So on one of those sides where you have a nice straight edge, I will mark myself that I want to start from here or stop in here, and then start or stop in here, depends which way you start stitching. So that's why I've put that pin other way around here, so I know I cannot go through it to stitch, so it will remind me to stop there. Okay, so I will now trim excess fabric all around. You know, you don't need that to kind of fuffle around. Okay, so I stitched my runner all around, and there are a few things I need to do before I turn it to the right side. So let's just take the pins out quickly. So obviously, first of all, I need to trim all that extra bits and pieces around, and I will be using scissors. You can use the rotary cutter, whatever feels more comfortable for you, it doesn't matter. So I'm just cutting it against the edge of the runner. All of the outside corners, trim them a little bit on diagonal like this. That will make the corners, when you turn it around, much nicer. So I'm leaving probably an 8 here between the corner of my stitch and the corner when I'm cutting out here. So that's the outside corners. This one is inside, but because it's the last one, I've trimmed it as well the same. So all around. Okay, now next one is all the inside corners. I need to go from this corner here to where the stitching corner is, and then cut it as close to the stitch as possible, but obviously don't cut the threads there. It's so we can turn it around, and again we'll have a lovely kind of crisp corner there. So literally I'm leaving maybe like two thicknesses of the threads there, very close, but just be careful not to cut the threads itself. That one, that one, that one. So I'm just going on diagonal towards that corner, and I think that's all of them. And 3 or 4 now, where you have a that opening here, I trim little bit that batting here. So I'm just going because there's a little bit of stitching here and here, so I'm going as close to that stitching first to remove that batting, and then all across that length where you will be turning that opening later to the inside to top stitch, I'm just removing that batting. And you can remove quite a lot of here from the inside, that part which is not stitched in yet. You can go a little bit past you would that line of the stitching you would have there if you had stitched it together. It will make a little bit easier when you will be doing that bit later. Okay, so this is how it looks like. I've trimmed here where it's stitched, and then I went a little bit deeper where there is no stitch. Okay, so now I am ready to turn it around. I'm just going to the end. I will grab those corners here and I will pull it across. And we need something dull to now kind of push those corners out here. You can use finger if you want, but what I use sometimes is a end of the pencil. Don't use sharp scissors, because we've trimmed a little bit there that fabric, so it's quite vulnerable for tearing now, to be fair. So just take it slowly and then just push all of those corners, because we've trimmed that batting there, which should give us nice finish. And you see, because I cut or kind of snipped that fabric here, I should also have nice inside corners. If fabric pulls too much in those corners, just go back and kind of cut into the seam a little bit more. Okay, so I've pushed out all the corners. Just have a look, you're happy with it. If it's, again, I think there's a little bit of pull here, but I will kind of try to kind of pull it from the outside. Yeah, all the other corners looks fine. So I will take it to the iron board now, and I will iron it nicely flat before I top stitch. So I will just kind of push that fabric as I iron to have a nice crisp edge here as well. And the finishing of this edge, I want to have a bottom fabric to go on kind of inside. I mean, I'm putting it too much, obviously there will be less, but just for the purpose of showing you which way the fabric goes. So this one will go roll over to the inside, and then you will iron that one nicely flat on top of it. So that's how your edge should look like. And then you can use either pins or some clips if you have to kind of hold it in place, and we'll be top stitching it. So you can see, because we've removed that extra batting here, it kind of closes up nicely. Otherwise, if you don't remove that batting, you will have a batting going this way, and then a lot of batting kind of coming back to the inside, so there will be quite a lot of bulk here. Right, let me take it to the iron board, and then we'll be top stitching. On the corners you can still find a little bit of more bulk, and also on those inside corners, so just slow down on those, and if you need to hand crank something, do that. You know, it's not a huge project, you can kind of work your way through. But all on, you know, on the straight edges you should be fine. It's just where you're getting to the corners, just slow down there and kind of have a look at those. So I'm going probably like an 8 or even closer to the edge. So I'm starting from that edge here where I've got my fold. Because I've ironed it very well, I don't even use any pins here or any clasps, but you can, if you want, kind of keep it for yourself in place with something. And let's see if, like I said, there's a little bit of more bulk there. Sometimes machine kind of, my machine at least, kind of cannot grasp that fabric from underneath to kind of carry on. So yeah, it didn't do it. So what I will do, I will just lift the foot and move the fabric slightly, do a stitch, see if it's taking, no, again, another one, and then it's moving. So either hand crank or just move fabric yourself every stitch, and it's only at the corners, so it's not so bad. Yeah, it's not moving again here, so just basically every stitch until I get to the better place, I just do it literally manually. So now it's time to quilt it. I might use some decorative stitches or straight stitches, I do not know. I mean, you can practice free motion quilting on those ones because it's a small project, so it will be easy to maneuver. So I leave that to you to decide how you want to quilt it. I will show you mine when I finish on the design one. And here you've got my Christmas table runners, now finished and quilted. I've tried to make a lovely arrangements on my table to show you how it will look, but I only have got a small table because I've got big breakfast bar, so we don't use it much. But this is how it can look, and obviously you can make it longer, and if you want to have it wider, then you can create your own bigger tumblers. It's very easy to make the template, just refer to the other video I've mentioned. It doesn't have to be Christmas one. It depends what fabric you will use. You can make for any season or just, you know, crumb one, and it will look lovely as well, you know, with your own favorite colors. Because it's quite quick project, you can make it as a gifts, again, for any occasion. I have some of those fabrics left, so I will carry on with making more in different sizes, and I will probably donate some, or we usually have some Christmas raffle in our church, so I will put some there as well. So it's very versatile and quick project, which you can kind of, you know, adopt it to whatever you need. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed that, and you will be able to use some of those ideas in your own journey. Please, as usual, have a look at the description below. There are some links to other videos I've mentioned while I was sewing. And if you have any questions, please be sure to leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.